Just we can wait for a moment so the recording can start. Oh yeah, we are into it. All right. So we have learned that every channel has got its particular barriers, right? So today we are going to discuss barriers into detail. Okay. So we have different barriers. Uh, there are many. I have just taken over here a few so that we can understand that how barriers make a communication ineffective and how we normally cope up with all these barriers. So the first one is the use of jargon. Do you have any idea what is jargon? Uh, Simply, if you have any idea, please write it down. If you don't have, just write that you don't know it. Do you have any idea what is a jargon? Don't want you to look here and there. I just want you to let me just know if you know it or you don't. Don't know. Okay. So jargon is particularly a specific vocab of a specific field. For example, if you are a doctor, right? So in the entire vocabulary would be different than the particular vocabulary of engineers, right? For example, if you are going on a trip, you will be saying bank of the sea, but if you're walking into the bank, so your bank is entirely different. If you're talking about branch, right? When you're working the bench, you are talking about entirely something different when you're talking about the branch of a tree. Even though if you are talking to someone and you are any kind of engineer, there are certain vocabularies, certain words which are particular to your field and they are not common, right? So all those words which are particular to certain fields and they are not, for example, in medical science, we have heard arteries, right? Veins. So maybe the one who is not into this field, they don't understand what is heart, what is artery. If you ask someone that, okay, how much blood pressure you gotta have? If the person says, I have 120 systolic and 80 diastolic, so you won't understand that what is the systolic, what is diastolic. So all these vocabularies, right? Which are particular to certain fields that are they are called jargon, and the use of jargon may create barriers or miscommunication because these are not common words. They are related to particular fields. So until unless you don't know fields, yeah, if you know one doctor talks to another doctor and they talk about, yeah, the person has got eczema and you have to treat in this way, then they both can understand because they have got the common jargon. Like we when we talk to different language, when we have same language, it's easy. When we have same jargon, it's easy. But if we have different jargon, it becomes difficult. Is it clear? Is the use of jargon clear? If it is clear, please let me know. If you have a still question or you haven't understood it, please let me know. Okay. So then we have emotional barriers and taboos. See, in our society, uh, when we talk to anyone, I have, okay, I'm going to repeat it. Jargon is using a particular vocab pertaining to that particular field, right? Stitch to doctor, right? And stitch, the word stitch to doctor and the word stitching to teller are two entirely different things, right? The meaning may be the same, but something entirely different. So there are certain words, as I said, that the word arteries, the word veins, diseases, and everything is a particular vocabulary of medical science, which we really don't use in normal life. In the same way, business people have got certain For example, transactions, debit, credit, right? All these things are their particular vocabulary that is particular to that field that doesn't belong to us. That doesn't belong to us, right? That is not used in our common life. All those words which are particular to certain field and they are not common to our life, like that is called jargon. And when we would be using it, definitely that would create misunderstanding because we are not used to it because that is not common. So 32, I believe now it's clear. If not, still, please let me know. 40, if it is not still clear, please let me know. I would repeat it again. All right. So rule number 40, I hope it is clear now. Then we have emotional, okay. Then we have emotional barriers and taboos. Taboo is something which is not common to talk about. Like in our society, it's really a taboo, or people believe it is shameful to talk about commonly about politics, about religion, about sex, right? About child labor, about child abuse, about destroying human rights, right? It's all taboo to talk about. Even though when you talk about all these things, you want to express yourself, people will be saying, "Oh, kya keh rahe ho?" Right? So we have to, or this kind of situation, and it really creates barriers. And most of the times, when we realize a lot of things happening around us, but we cannot speak onto it because we believe that this is taboo and we can't talk about it in society. Even though a parent cannot talk to his her child, right? Even or a child cannot talk to his or parents just because in society it is considered awkward. Taboo means it is considered awkward or it is not common to talk about. So such things, even though, for example, if a student has got certain religious questions and he wants to put that question into society, he or she can't put that questions into society because questioning on religion is considered as taboo. Then we have emotional barriers. So emotional barriers are when you are emotionally upset. When we are emotionally upset. So when somebody talks to us, we really don't understand those things to the extent we should. Or when we are emotional, we talk to others very harsh, or even we are not listening to them, we are distracted. So when we are emotionally distracted or disturbed, it also causes communication barrier. And when things are taboos, they also cause communication barrier. Most of the times it happens when we are gloomy, when we are sad, or we are emotional, right? हम अपनी दुनिया में इतने मगन होते हैं कि we don't understand what other are saying, or we don't really try to understand their perspective, because at that time when we are emotional we feel that we are the victim और दुनिया जहाँ के सारे गम हमारे ही हैं, हमने ठेका लिया हुआ है. And in this way, what happens that when we talk to other people, we don't really understand कि वो किस frequency के साथ हमारे साथ बात कर रहे हैं. Or even most of the times, if somebody tries to be funny with us, तो हम उनको बोल देते हैं, यार मेरे साथ मजाक ना करो, मेरा mood नहीं है. Even what we did, we interrupted the communication because we are emotionally not stable at that time. So I hope emotional barriers and taboos are clear. Then we have lack of attention, interest, distractions, or irrelevance to the receiver. Most of the times, this is what commonly happens in our day-to-day life. We don't listen to someone because we are not having attention to them. हमारे हाथ में मोबाइल होती है, हम उसी में लगे हुए होते हैं, and the person who is talking to, right? Then what happens when it clicks something, or when we are done doing something into our cell phone, then we ask them, हाँ यार क्या कह रहे थे फिर से बताना. This happens because we were having lack of attention, we didn't attend them properly, or sometimes you're not interested into certain topics what the people are talking about. Maybe you are very petty like me and the person is talking about the diet. Definitely like me, you won't be interested into it. Most of the times I do not get interest into it. So what happens is the topic is not very enticing or attracting. If it is not attractive or it's not attracting us, so definitely we're not gonna be indulged into such communication, and it would create barrier because we won't be listening it with a lot of interest and attention. then there are a lot of distractions. Maybe I'm talking to someone and the other person, what happens when you are presenting before the class and your friends sitting at the back, they try to distract you. So even you cannot communicate well, and this happens that most of the time आपको लोग दूसरों की बातें बता रहे होते हैं which are entirely irrelevant to you. So you don't pay an ear to it, or you pay a deaf ear to it. So these could be the possible reasons. And then we have differences in perception and viewpoint. This is what I believe that creates a barrier of communication. But we can minimize this barrier. Difference in perceptions and viewpoint that definitely creates barrier. And when there is a difference, we don't want to listen, we don't want to talk to. But I believe this is the point when learning starts actually. So all the time we are right, is a myth, and we should break that myth, right? We can't be right all the time, and we should learn that how to respect differences in perceptions, or the other person has a different viewpoint. We Pakistani people are such stubborn people that we believe that whatever we understand or whatever we have seen the life in, I mean, that is something entirely correct. We have just seen the fire, but the person who has put himself or herself into the fire, and if the person is telling us कि आग बहुत गर्म होती है और आपको जला देगी, आपको झुलसा देगी। अब वी स्टार्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट नहीं, नहीं मैंने आग देखी है यार, ऐसा तो होता ही नहीं है। आग तो कभी जो है ना झुलसाती नहीं है, बस जलती रहती है। So we don't have a room into ourselves to accept that other person's experiences can be very true, or we need to learn from other person's experiences. So most of the times, even though I believe पाकिस्तान में जो हद से ज्यादा लड़ाइयाँ होती हैं, वो होती इसीलिए है कि because we have differences in perception and viewpoint, and then we don't have enough courage to accept them, or we don't have enough mind and understanding to accept it. That yes, there can be differences in perceptions and the viewpoint. Even within a family, if you have three kids, those three kids, even though have got brought up from two same parents, but their perceptions and viewpoint could be entirely different depending upon how do they react, how do they think, what they have studied, and what their exposures, experiences have been. So most of the times, I believe that differences in perceptions and the viewpoints hit us very bad. Okay, so I just want to know that you guys are right quite now. So if the difference in perception and viewpoint is clear, or all these 4 points are clear or not. If they are clear, let me know. If you have got any question regarding these 4, please let me know. All right. So we are clear up to it. And then we have physical disabilities. The person who is dumb and deaf, right? And the person cannot speak well, or the person cannot listen well. Definitely, the person is called physical or physiological disabilities, right? Even though you can speak very well, but if the person on the other side is stuttering, or he cannot speak well, so you won't be understand. I remember a joke, tamatar khao, and a beggar asked a lady कि कुछ पैसे दे दो, and the lady says टमाटर खाओ। वो बोलता है कि मैंने इतने टमाटर खा लिए, अब कितने टमाटर खाऊं? And he was like staring, and he wanted to say कि कमा कर खाओ. So this kind of physical ability is the person who has got some speech problems, hearing problems. This hearing problem has caused a lot of problems in my Nanyal actually. My grandmother from my mother's side, she can't listen well, and most of the times, I can believe that these physical disabilities can create a huge misunderstanding or miscommunication. Then we have physical barriers to non-verbal communication. So, non-verbal communication should be mutual and it could be understood then. And if it is not mutual, that could be understood. Most of the times what happens is the person on the other side is trying to talk to us in non-verbal communication, but just because we don't have that physicality between us, we don't understand it. And then you ask, "Yaar, kya kehna cha rahe ho?" Because we don't understand what they are trying to communicate through nonverbal communication. Then we have language differences. When I talk about language differences, I do not mean just that one language from another. Even though language differences can arise within one language, because on every 50 kilometer there is a variation in the language. Accent varies, dialect varies, so the register and vocab varies, right? Even you have seen that within our own mother tongue, if we are having another person of the same mother tongue from another city, their accent, their dialect, their vocab is somehow changed. So this might create somehow differences. Uh, there is one of the real happening in my brother's life, which he shared with me. He said that one day I asked my friend, "Yeah, hal to ke chahi to kha raha hai, watermelon." So watermelon is called chahi in Sindhi. So his friend said, "चले यार खाते हैं हम." एंड ये दोनों गए, खा पी कर जब वापस आए तो उसके दोस्त ने बोला कि यार तुमने मुझे कहा था तुम मुझे जो है शाही खिलाने वाले हो, शाही नहीं खिलाई। तो उसने बोला यार ये जो मैंने तुम्हें खिलाया था फ्रूट, वो शाही तो है। तो उसके दोस्त ने बोला अच्छा तुम लोग इसको शाही बोलते हैं, हम तो हंदाड़ू बोलते हैं। So even though within a language, it created a miscommunication because we got the different vocab for one thing, and one person didn't knew that it is also called Hindano into that language for the same thing. Language doesn't only create miscommunication when it is not known between the two persons. Even within one language, it creates a difference. Then you have expectations and attitude. Even though we sometimes don't have attitude, but we perceive into a different manner. We have certain expectations और हम बोलते हैं यार मुझे तुमसे ये उम्मीद नहीं है कि तुम ऐसा बोलोगे, और उसने बोल दिया and you got hurt, and this created the barrier. आपने अपना एक जो एटीट्यूड है उसके तरफ जो है डिफरेंट कर लिया, या उसके एटीट्यूड डिफरेंट होने की वजह से आपके परसेप्शन डिफरेंट हो जाता है. So whenever there are certain expectations and they are not met within communication, they create the barriers. And even though attitudes, when they are not mutually or commonly understood, that creates miscommunication. Then we have cultural differences. That is really easy to understand that person from one culture, when talking to person of other culture, may not have mutual understanding about something. If somebody talks to you about their experiences of soccer or hiking, right, you won't get your interest into it until unless they talk about cricket to you. If they talk about cricket to you, it is of so much. When they talk about cricket, it might be of like the same thing, but if they talk about something which is not a part of your culture, you might not understand it well, and you might feel, a taboo like feeling or attitude like feeling or expectations like feel. Like commonly say, हमारे यहाँ तो ऐसा नहीं हो, right? This is what one of my friends said, that why do people say हमारे यहाँ तो ऐसा नहीं होता, जो आपके यहाँ हो जरूरी नहीं है कि हर जगह वही हो. So cultural differences are like हमारे यहाँ तो ऐसा नहीं होता, and we need to understand that whatever happens, right, it happens entirely different at other places, and it's not always alike that things have to be happen same each and everywhere. Anyway, so these are a bit of gist of the differences or the barriers which could happen, and they can create miscommunication when people are talking to each other. These are just general barriers. Barriers could be particular to every channel, right? So I hope these all are clearly understood, and I just wanted you to understand a general perspective of what could be the barriers to communication, right? So if you have any question regarding barriers of communication, please let me know. If you are clear about it, please let me know. Handano, assim, handano chavanda ahim. Uh, yes, most of the people call it hindano, and most of the people call it chai. So it's all same. That's watermelon. Clear. So how about rest of the guys? Clear. All right. So we are clear about it. Now, I believe that you have understood very well that what is the process of communication, right? And then you have learned that how barriers work within communication. Now we are understanding that how process of communication works into real life situation. So here is a practical example. I want you to understand it very well. I'm explaining it. You have to understand it, right? I hope slide is clear to everyone and you guys can see things clearly. I'm just explaining it. First of all, in order to initiate any communication, we need to have a sender. Then a sender encodes the message. He selects appropriate channel, and then message is received by the receiver, and the receiver decodes it. And according to decoding, he then constructs a feedback. In the same way, when he constructs the feedback, he encodes the message, selecting appropriate channel, right? And definitely every channel has got its own barriers. Then the sender becomes the receiver in the process, and then he decodes the feedback from receiver. Now I have got a situation. In this situation, a child is not performing well, and the principal wants to convey this message to the parent. So the principal is our sender, and parent is our receiver. First of all, principal, if he or she wants to initiate the communication, this means he or she is going to be the sender. Then he needs to encode the message. He needs to change his thought into a language form that could be understood between the two, right? So he could select spoken or he could select written. Visualization and nonverbal communication won't work because they are not right now face to face. So the principal has decided that he would encode his message in written form, that is text form. He is going to select a channel. The channel is later. He would transfer his text form in the form of a letter, right? So when he is writing a letter, there could be possible two barriers, language barrier and emotional barrier. This language barrier and emotional barrier could be at both ends. Maybe the principal has written in English language and he is very much angry at that time. So he has written in a harsh language. The parent who is receiving it may not understand English language very well, and as the letter is written emotionally, so the parent, being the parent, may be so much emotional than the principal and finds the letter harsh, and he may not understand the letter or the message properly. The one reason is maybe the language in which the letter is written is not particularly known to him, or maybe he is so much emotional about his her child that he is incapable of understanding the true sense of the letter. So definitely when letter is in written form and the parent is receiver on the other hand, so the letter which would be decoded by the parent would also be in the text form. The parent would be reading the letter, so he would be decoding the text and he would be understanding it into the mind. Then he would construct a feedback. When someone is constructing feedback, it's entirely onto his or own choice. Parent may also opt for later, or he may opt for call, or he may opt for face-to-face communication. So the parent has decided that he would go for face-to-face communication. So he has thought that he will transfer his thought into spoken, right? So his encoding is spoken communication. Then he has selected the channel face to face. He would transfer his message face to face. Then he is transferring his message face to face. There could be two possible barriers. I mean, there could be many barriers, but I have just chosen two possible barriers. One is cultural and other is physiological. Maybe the is from a village, right? and the principal is from the city. So their cultural differences may vary when they are talking to. Maybe the parents say, "अरे तू मुझे पुट्टे से नाली ये किया सोचा मी," and the principal is like, "How could you say तू to me? आप मुझे इस तरह से कैसे मेरे साथ बात कर सकते हैं, right?" So there could be for a villager, two is if two is fine, and for a person who's living in city and he's a principal, right, and he can't bear that. So this could be a cultural barrier. Then there could be a physiological barrier. Maybe the principal is deaf, right, or he can't listen well, and maybe the parent has got some speech problems. So this may create a barrier to communication. Definitely, when they are talking face to face, so the principal who is receiving the feedback definitely is going to decode spoken language, right? Make sure that when we are constructing from sender to receiver, encoding and decoding form would be same. And definitely when we are constructing feedback, encoding and decoding form of the communication would be same. This is how the process of communication works. So please look at the slide for 30 seconds and then let me know if you have any question or if everything is clear. This is how in practicality process of communication works in real life. Even though if the principal would have opted for a call, then the parent would have replied on the call and it would have been the instant feedback, right? This is a prolonged feedback, and in that case, over the call, this would have been instant feedback. Even when they talk face to face, that is instant feedback. I want you to understand the slide, and please let me know if there is any question. I want everyone to write if they have understood it or if they are having any question. There are 36 people in the meeting. I want everyone to let me know if it is understood or if there is any question. Because after this, we are going to work. All right. So now let's work on to it. This is that select the situation and draw process of communication diagram for it. Mention one channel and two possible barriers for two-way process. As I have chosen principal and teacher, in the same way you have to choose any real life situation and you have to draw the same diagram as I have drawn for principal and parent situation. In the same way as I have selected one channel and two possible barriers of that channel, in the same way, choose one channel and two possible to instruct back and everything in the same way. It's 11:37. I would be asking you to get it done within 10 minutes. Please draw it onto your notebook, take a picture, and then send it to me once you are done. Take 10 minutes. It's 11:37 in my cell phone. I'll be asking you to send it to me by 11:47. But if you are already done, please send it to me. Meanwhile, I will check it.
आज जन्म में काम नहीं करेंगे तो सुविधा है ना ढाल चरबिया मन थी तो भी ऑपरेशन सरकारी छुट्टी करवाए जी करवाए हां तो बस लगे मैं आप पैसे को नहीं हां के वाला पैसे के हां के आने पहले ऑपरेशन करने पूर्ति करनी इकडे तो इकडी तू किती आयडी इकडी हो किती है तो आप खाओ होता है बुला ला दो ये ना तिकडे जा ये जर्नी है देखिए यार खूब कितना आई है अरे अपनी करूंगा गलती की है पर रिजल्ट आ गया जैसा कि ना मैं अगर पेपर से देख गिनूं फिर उन सवाल टिक करूं और उन्हें जवाब करूंगा जवाब तो गूगल को उन्होंने बोला ये लेट के इंतजार करूंगा ये आई खबर नहीं होती सब्जेक्ट केड़ा है सब्जेक्ट होवे टॉपिक खबर होवे ना थोड़ी तैयारी करे थोड़ा पढ़े ये पीडीएफ वाले सुन ये मैडम मुझे भी
Guys, am I audible now? Am I audible now? What was the last thing you heard? What was I talking about? What was the last thing I was talking about? Because I was just repeating the entire process. I don't know where I left. I was just providing feedback to each and every person. Didn't you get it? I provided feedback to each and every one. Oh my goodness. So I wasn't mute. I was not mute. I don't know. There was some problem maybe. Okay, guys, I believe I'm audible now. Everyone has got a wrong diagram. I am explaining this diagram again, right? No, we didn't hear that. I wasn't mute. There was some problem, right? Okay, so everyone has got certain mistakes. Now I am again repeating it. Please listen to it carefully. See, principal and the parent, receiver and the sender. Principal wants to send a message. He has got some thought about the child and he wants to communicate this to parents. So he is selecting text form of a language. Encoding is that which form of language you are selecting to communicate. Either you are selecting text, spoken, visualization, or non-verbal, right? So the initiator needs to encode a message and you can select encoding. Encoding and decoding always needs to be the same because if you are encoding text, definitely the receiver will receive text and he has to decode the text. In the same way, if you are initiating a spoken, the receiver has to decode a spoken. So encoding and decode from one person to another would be the same, right? अगर आप text select कर रहे हैं as a encoding, तो आप चैनल क्या यूज करेंगे? टेक्स्ट तो आपने एक टाइप सेलेक्ट किया है कम्युनिकेशन का। अब उस टाइप के अंदर आप किस तरह से उसको दूसरे तक पहुंचाएंगे? अगर आपने टेक्स्ट सेलेक्ट किया है तो आप लेटर लिखेंगे, एप्लीकेशन लिखेंगे, टेक्स्ट मैसेज लिखेंगे, व्हाट्सएप मैसेज लिखेंगे, मैसेंजर पर आप लिखेंगे, फेसबुक पर आप पोस्ट डालेंगे, आप न्यूज़पेपर आर्टिकल में देंगे, आप सर्कुलर लिखेंगे, मेमो लिखेंगे, आप नोटिफिकेशन लिखेंगे। आप किस तरह से लिखेंगे? आप उसको इवन दो अगर कम्युनिकेट करना चाह रहा है आपसे कोई, आप उसको किस फॉर्म में लिखेंगे? टेबल फॉर्म में लिखेंगे, पिक्टोरियल फॉर्म में लिखेंगे, किस वो जो आप चैनल यूज करेंगे दूसरे से बात करने के लिए, दैट इज कॉल्ड चैनल। चैनल के बैरियर्स होते हैं सिंपली जिस तरह से आप लोगों ने बैरियर लिख दिए, इस तरह से हम बैरियर नहीं लिखेंगे। आपने लिख दिया इमोशनल बैरियर, भाई किस चीज का इमोशनल बैरियर? यू आर राइटिंग इनकोडिंग टेक्स्ट एंड इमोशनल बैरियर, भाई किस चीज में इमोशनल बैरियर आ रहा है? आप वो तो बताएं कि किस तरह से वो टेक्स्ट जो है हमने दूसरे तक पहुंचाया है। तो देयर इज अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन चैनल एंड द टेक्स्ट। चैनल के अप्रोप्रिएट जो हैं वो बैरियर होते हैं, एंड द बैरियर्स व्हिच आई हैव टॉट यू दे आरंट लाइक स्पेसिफिक कि आप हर जगह पर बैरियर्स को लगाएं। अगर मैं अभी आपको फॉर एग्जांपल अभी की एग्जांपल लेते हैं, आई एम स्टैंडर, यू आर अ रिसीवर। मैंने सिलेक्ट किया है, क्या फॉर्म सिलेक्ट किया है? मैंने दो फॉर्म सिलेक्ट किए हैं, एक मैंने टेक्स्ट फॉर्म सिलेक्ट किया है, विजुअलाइजेशन सिलेक्ट किया है, स्पोकन सिलेक्ट किया है। ठीक है, राइट नाउ आई हैव चोजन थ्री। तो मैंने इनकोडिंग क्या किया है? टेक्स्ट किया है, स्पोकन किया है, विजुअलाइजेशन किया है, और आप भी इन तीनों चीजों को एक साथ डिकोड कर रहे हैं, राइट? उसके सिवा मेरा चैनल क्या है? मेरा चैनल है एमएस टीम, और उस एमएस टीम्स के थ्रू मैं ये सारी चीजें आप तक पहुंचा रही हूँ। अब एमएस टीम मेरा अगर चैनल है तो मेरे बैरियर्स क्या हैं? मेरे बैरियर्स हैं वॉइस फ्लक्चुएशन, नॉइज इन माय रूम, राइट, नेटवर्क इश्यूज, ग्लिचेस इन एमएस टीम्स। ये मेरे बैरियर्स हैं। एंड इट कुड बी, इसमें जरूरी है कि लैंग्वेज आए, इमोशनल आए, कल्चरल आए, हमारे यहाँ कोई कल्चरल बैरियर नहीं है, लैंग्वेज बैरियर नहीं है, इमोशनल बैरियर नहीं है, फिजियोलॉजिकल बैरियर नहीं है। राइट नाउ मेरे जो चैनल है MS टीम्स, उसके कम्युनिकेशन बैरियर्स अलग हैं एज कम्पेयर टू द बैरियर्स वी हैव लर्न। इन द सेम वे अगर फीडबैक भी कोई दे रहा है, अगर वो स्पोकन में इनकोडिंग कर रहा है तो डिकोडिंग भी स्पोकन ही होगी। डेफिनेटली डिकोड का बंदा है कि उस स्पोकन से आप मैसेज समझेंगे ना, जो आपके तरफ स्पोकन आ रही है, वो स्पोकन भी किस तरह से हो रही है। इधर दैट इज इनटू face-to-face communication, that is over call, that is over radio, that is over television, right? That is over Facebook, that is over WhatsApp, that is over Messenger. आपने वो भी कहाँ की है, वो जो आपका सोर्स है, that is your channel, and वो सोर्स अपने specific barriers लाएगा. Everyone has entirely made it wrong. Until unless you don't make it right, there is no break. I want you to again select any other situation and draw it, please. Repeat the process by selecting another situation, please. And the meanwhile, I will be giving you feedback too. Make sure that this time you are making it right. Is the process understood? Is the process understood, or are there any questions? What is channel is flow diagram? Roll number AC. I couldn't understand your question. Can you please paraphrase it? Can you please rewrite it? I can't understand it. Barrier is something that hinders your communication, right? It is not always possible that there are always barrier and you realize it. There are always hidden or unconscious barriers. Even though if I am talking to you right now, I am using spoken communication, right? And what is my way of spoken communication? This is not face to face, but this is online and I'm using MS Teams. So MS Team is my channel through which I am conveying my spoken communication to you guys. So if MS Team is my channel, what could be the possible barriers according to MS Team? It could be poor network issue, internet quality, right? It could be electricity, right? Because maybe the charging of my cell phone, charging of my laptop, these could cause hindrance in my communication. Maybe the interruption, maybe there are radiations, maybe there are some waves which are interrupting my internet connectivity. There may be the noise of the fan. There may be the noise outside my room. There may be the noise inside my room. Maybe my family is sitting inside. Each and everything could be counted as a barrier, and every channel has got its appropriate barrier. If I have selected spoken and MS Team is my channel, barriers are different. But if I am speaking to someone and I have chosen WhatsApp message, my barriers would be different, right? Okay, language problem, mom. Mom, include spoken, me, spoken. Okay, channel, call, audio. Wonderful. Network problem. That's wonderful. Feedback, includes text, decode text, message, language problem. Wonderful. This is how our roll number 40. We need to make a process of communication. That's very much right. Ma'am, will you please repeat what is channel and flow diagram? This is what I have been again repeating that channel हमारा है कि हम किस तरह से अपना टेक्स्ट या स्पोकन जो है दूसरे तक पहुंचाते हैं. टेक्स्ट का जरूरी तो नहीं है कि आप टेक्स्ट मैसेज के थ्रू पहुंचाएंगे, राइट? आप हो सकता है जो टेक्स्ट स्पोक आपकी रिटन कम्युनिकेशन है, आप टेक्स्ट के थ्रू पहुंचाए, दैट कुड बी टेक्स्ट मैसेज, राइट? दैट कुड बी आपका एप्लीकेशन हो सकती है, आपका लेटर हो सकता है, आपका न्यूज़पेपर आर्टिकल हो सकता है, आपका ऑर्डर हो सकता है, नोटिफिकेशन हो सकती है, राइट? हो सकता है कि आप व्हाट्सएप पे टेक्स्ट कर रहे हैं, हो सकता है आपने फेसबुक पे कोई पोस्ट डाल दी है, हो सकता है आपने ट्विटर पर ट्वीट किया है उस टेक्स्ट को। तो टेक्स्ट को जो भी फॉर्म देकर आप दूसरे तक पहुंचाएंगे उसको हम बोलेंगे चैनल, कि किस मीडियम के थ्रू आपने उस टेक्स्ट को दूसरे तक पहुंचाया है। अगर मैं कह रही हूँ कि मैं इनकोड करूंगी टेक्स्ट में, तो टेक्स्ट का क्या फॉर्म होगा, वो टेक्स्ट दूसरे तक कैसे पहुंचेगा? दैट इज कॉल्ड अ चैनल या मीडियम, जिसके थ्रू आप दूसरे तक पहुंचाते हैं, दूसरा उसको समझता है। आई होप रोल नंबर 80 इट इज क्लियर। इफ इट इज स्टिल नॉट, प्लीज लेट मी नो। प्लीज लेट मी नो अगर इस डायग्राम में आपको कोई भी प्रॉब्लम है। प्लीज राइट योर क्वेश्चन, because this diagram is going to be ultimately part of your examination, and until unless you don't master it, I cannot proceed. All right, good to know. All right, guys, I would just want you to take a 10-minute break because I believe your mind is stuck somewhere. So what time is it? All right, come back by 12:25. Come back by 12:25. I want everyone to be in the class by 12:25, please. Please go on to a break. Spoken is the type of communication. See, you can encode a message into just four types of communication. Verbal mean spoken, written, visualization, and non-verbal. So spoken is, you know, verbal form of communication. And this spoken form could be call, right? This spoken form could be face to face. This spoken form could be a speech on a radio. This spoken form could be a talk onto the television. This spoken form can be audio message on WhatsApp, right? This could be anything you are using in order कि आपकी spoken form जो है दूसरे तक कैसे पहुंचेगा. That could be a song even. That could be a mimicry even. I hope at zero it's clear now. Please take a break and come back by 12:25. Meanwhile, if anyone has any question, they can put rest can take a break. Shopkeeper encoding spoken, decoding listening. See, listening is not a decoding. When you will encode spoken, then it will become listening. जब तक आप स्पोकन को डिकोड नहीं करेंगे तो आप समझेंगे कैसे, वो लिसनिंग कैसे होगी? Channel face to face. Okay, if channel is face to face, you need to write barriers too. Feedback is spoken, spoken face to face. Noise disturbance due to more customers. Wonderful. This is how you need to select barriers. Wonderful. I just loved your barriers. That's a good try. What is S? Okay, SMS. That's SMS. Fine. Friendly code. Language problem. Okay. Feedback. Spoken coordinator. Wonderful. Roll number 16, that's wonderful. And please don't use pencil. What is encoding and decoding text or spoken? Encoding and decoding is कि encode का मतलब है कि आपकी जो दिमाग में चल रहा है कि मुझे ये बात कहनी है या बोलनी है, उस जो दिमाग में चल रहा है उसको आप लैंग्वेज का कौन सा फॉर्म देके दूसरे तक पहुंचाएंगे। आप उसको टेक्स्ट में आई मीन इसको आप वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन में लेकर आएंगे, नॉन वर्बल में लेकर आएंगे, ठीक है, आप उसको विजुअलाइजेशन में लेकर आएंगे या रिटन फॉर्म। फॉर एग्जाम्पल मुझसे जो है कोई पूछ रहा है कि तुम खाना खाओगी, अब वो मेरे जहन में थॉट है कि मुझे खाना खाना है, अब मैं दूसरे को उस थॉट को लैंग्वेज के किस फॉर्म में लेकर आ रही हूँ, मैं उसको रिटन में लेकर आ रही हूँ, मैं उसको टेक्स्ट मैसेज कर दूंगी यस, ठीक है। अगर मैं इसको स्पोकन में लेकर आ रही हूँ तो मैं उसको फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल बोल दूंगी यस। अगर मुझे उससे नॉन वर्बल में लेके आना है तो मैं उसको अपना सर हिला के बोल दूंगी यस। अगर मुझे इसको जो है विजुअलाइजेशन में आना है तो मैं इसको इमोजी भेज दूंगी जिसका मतलब होगा यस, राइट। तो इन कोडिंग का मतलब है कि आप अपनी उस थॉट को लैंग्वेज के कौन से फॉर्म में लेकर आते हैं कम्युनिकेट करने के लिए। अगर आप फॉर एग्जांपल टेक्स्ट में लेकर आते हैं या स्पोकन में लेकर आते हैं, फिर मुझे अगर कोई मुझसे पूछता है कि खाना खाओगी, राइट, मुझे मैं सोचती हूँ कि मैं इसका जवाब जो है स्पोकन में दूं। तो अपनी थॉट को मैंने स्पोकन में कन्वर्ट किया है यस। अब वो यस मैंने फोन कॉल पर करना है, ठीक है, वॉइस मैसेज में यस करना है या फेस टू फेस करना है, वो होगा मेरा चैनल। I hope rule number 80 it's clear now. Style, spoken, encoding, decoding, and pattern. Difference in viewpoint, channel, face to face. Wonderful. Feedback, spoken, physiological, soft-hearted, couldn't tell everything, relation, difference. Spoken है, channel दोनों का face to face है, ठीक है, wonderful. Customer encoding text, decoding text, customer support, wonderful. Live chat channel, oh that's wonderful. Language, okay. Feedback, customer live chat, that's great. Okay, I encode spoken, decode spoken, mother, voice message, network issues, background. ये ऐसा लग रहा है कि it's me, right? Feedback, text, battery problems, issues. Wonderful. Yes, I love your responses now. Now you understand what I mean by all these things. That's good. चलें जी ब्रेक लेकर आए आप लोग। Rule number 52, it is not important that if the channel is same, then the barrier would be same. Every time you're talking to someone, it would be entirely different. Maybe your mother is texting to you, your barriers would be entirely different. And maybe you are texting to your mother, then her barriers would be entirely different. Maybe she can't understand what you have written, and maybe she has texted you in Urdu and you have replied in English and she can't read it. So barriers vary from situation to situation and person to person. It depends on whom you are talking to and what is the situation. We don't see barrier just from one perspective. We just look at the barriers from overall perspective. Row number 52, I hope it is clear. Please let me know if it is not clear. I will again explain it. अगर टीचर और स्टूडेंट के बिटवीन बात हो रही है और चैनल फेस टू फेस है, फिर भी बहुत सारे बैरियर्स आ सकते हैं। हो सकता है जो बाद में कह रही हूँ, राइट, उस परसेप्शन में कह रही हूँ जो परसेप्शन आप सोच नहीं रहे हैं। हो सकता है आप मेरे पास आए हैं कि मैं आपका काम करूँ, एक एक्सपेक्टेशन लेकर आए, पर मैं बहुत रूड हूँ, मेरे पास जो है साइकोलॉजिकल बैरियर है उस वक्त, आई एम ऑलरेडी अपसेट एंड यू आर टॉकिंग टू मी। तो मेरा बैरियर होगा साइकोलॉजिकल बैरियर और आपका बैरियर होगा एटीट्यूड बैरियर, इवन वी आर टॉकिंग फेस टू फेस, as it varies from situation to situation and person to person, as I have already told you. हो सकता है आप मेरे पास आए हैं, मैंने इंग्लिश के ऐसे वर्ड्स यूज कर दिए हैं जो आपने पहले नहीं सुने। इट्स जस्ट लाइक आई हैवंट यूज्ड द कॉमन वर्ड्स, आई हैव यूज्ड सम डिफरेंट vocab you might not understand. एंड हो सकता है मैंने आपको इशारों में इस तरह से जवाब दे दिया जो आपको समझ ही नहीं आया हो। आप मुझसे पूछे मैम ये काम हो सकता है, मैं आपको बोले देखो, यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आई मीन बाय देखो, कि होगा कि नहीं होगा, right? Even though we are talking face to face, but even though miscommunication happens, या हो सकता है आपने बात मुझे कुछ कही and my mind is not to you and my mind is on to something else and say, sorry, can you repeat what did you say? Even though miscommunication तो हुई, we are talking face to face, but still miscommunication happen. हम हर रोज face to face ही बात करते हैं, but still miscommunication happens. Roll number 52, I hope it is clear. If it is not, please write down your query. And I believe everyone is back. If you guys are back, please write back into chat section so that we can resume. All right, glad to know that it's clear. Please write back into chat section so that we can know that we are back. All those who are back, they have to repeat the process by selecting another situation. This is for the last time that each and every one will make a diagram on a new situation. And this is for the last time we are practicing diagram. And I will be providing feedback individually to everyone over here, right? So please draw it and then we're going to wind up our class. If you don't draw it, your attendance won't be marked. is I will be receiving your diagrams, I will be giving you instructions, and then I'll be marking your attendance online, right? Please start drawing the diagram. One more diagram and your attendance is done, and then we can wind up our class. I hope this is enough for today. And from tomorrow, we will start our new slide. Until unless we don't make it, we are not going to wind this up. I want everyone to make a diagram and send it to me so that I can mark your attendance. No diagram, no attendance. I'm not blackmailing you, but I'm motivating you to work, right? Yes, another block diagram. Me and spoken decoding pattern. Channel pacifier, noisy environment. Feedback in code is spoken. Okay. Many factors. Feedback in code is spoken. Aisha, menu and select dishes. How could it be your spoken channel? In selecting dishes or telling dishes from menu, that could be even face-to-face conversation. Please remake it. Aisha, please remake this. Please remake this. Teacher encode spoken channel face-to-face room noise. Wonderful. Feedback answer the question. Encode spoken, decode spoken channel face-to-face from noise. Breaking autism. Wonderful. Finally, you guys can make it. That's wonderful. Okay, 32. R spoken encode, spoken decode. Sister. Slow internet, video call connection, feedback encode, spoken encode, noise in the viewers background. Wonderful. That's brilliant. I'm so glad that you guys can make a wonderful situations and then you can choose the appropriate and the new ones. That's good. 7. Spoken channel, video call, barrier, internet issues, long distance. Okay. Spoken channel, face-to-face communication. See, if you're on a video call, your returning channel would be a video call too. Barrier TV noise. Wonderful. Your barrier selection is just wonderful. It's 06 I text a teacher message. आप मैसेज तो कर रही हैं, आप टेक्स्ट मैसेज कहाँ पे कर रही हैं? Just let me know this. Call. It's working. All right. Teacher, spoken students channel. Where is the channel? Noise, Noise is the correct spelling. If you are saying that barrier is noise, what kind of noise is the barrier and what is the channel? Language problem face to face. In codes, it won't be face to face. Encoding would be spoken. Face to face is your channel. Please remake it. Please remake it. Interviewer spoken face to face is horizontal education background, use of jargon, face to face, lack of knowledge, use of jargon. That's wonderful. Okay, there are two info and text, YouTuber live session comment. Okay, feedback, spoken YouTube live network issues. That's wonderful. 02, I liked your diagram. Stranger, text string is a text message, different language, cultural difference, text message, network issues, religious difference. How could just come religious different in text messages at the instance? That is all fine. Okay, cousin, spoken, me, spoken channel, video call, network, language, dialect, feedback, native, notional and barrier. अगर आप वीडियो कॉल पर आप कह रहे हैं कि आपने बात की है तो दैट कुड बी ए प्रोसेस इनटू द सेम आपकी वीडियो कॉल ही हो सकती है आपका फीडबैक भी वीडियो कॉल में ही आएगा बट चलें आपको ये समझ आया है दैट्स गुड टू नो सी आई टोल्ड यू एक इंस्टेंस रिस्पांस होता है और एक डिले रिस्पांस होता है जब आप वीडियो कॉल पर हैं तो इंस्टेंस आपका रिस्पांस होगा ओके जी 17 स्पोकन स्पोकन चैनल फेस टू फेस ओके spoken festival traffic noise. That's wonderful. Roll number 17, that's a wonderful try. Spoken festival. हाँ तुम्हारा तो हो गया I think. After a long time term response. After a long term response हम तब रखें जब वो हमारी वीडियो कॉल ना हो वीडियो कॉल पे हमारा abrupt जो है या वीडियो मैसेज हो हमारा तो फिर बात की बात है call dropped at that moment हाँ that could be the possible thing then you could write it into your barriers. Okay. Company info text line nil. Okay. Attention barrier. Okay. Feedback encode text decode text nil network barrier. That's good. So it's a situation okay. Yeah, then in that sense that situation is okay. See, you need to understand that a situation is okay or not. That is not to talk about situation is okay or not. You need to understand that does it make a sense or not. Miss taboos expanded. Okay, roll number 52 taboos are something which we don't commonly talk about जिसको बात करने पे हम गुनाह समझते हैं ठीक है या जिन चीज़ों के बारे में हम करते हैं और तौबा तौबा इस पे बात कर रही हैं राइट रिलीजियस चीज़ें हैं उन पे बात करना टैबू है क्योंकि हम कॉमनली इन पे बात नहीं कर सकते सेक्स है उस पे हम कॉमनली बात नहीं कर सकते हैं ठीक है पॉलिटिकल इश्यूज हैं उन पे हम कॉमनली बात नहीं कर सकते कहीं ना कोई मसला हो जाता है लोग करते हैं और इस पे बात कर रहे हैं taboo is something which is not common to talk about. I spoken in code subscriber from YouTube channel lack of attention internet problem X feedback text YouTube channel comment section तो आपका जो चैनल होगा वो कमेंट होगा राइट ये कमेंट इज योर चैनल Language problem. Okay. John is American as an person and don't know English. John in protest as lots of language culture. As some people in protest some. That's wonderful. Role number 31, that's a wonderful attempt. Okay, guys, what do you suggest? Should we go ahead with another slide or this is enough for today? Should we go with another slide or it's enough for today? हाँ, वैसे भी तुम लोगों को पढ़ना पढ़ाना था। So quickly let me know how was your today's class. Quickly let me know how was your today's class. Quickly let me know please today how was today's class. Okay, so you guys are saying enough is enough. but, but you know better if it's enough or not. No, I believe that okay, it's awesome. Fantastic. No, I believe that it's enough, right? Was greater than other classes. All right. Interesting as always. Like diagram. Okay. Thank you and have a good day. Then see you tomorrow, right? And then tomorrow we're gonna start a new slide and we are done with this. And please practice this diagram as much as you can because this is gonna be the part of your examination. And see, I'm already telling you what kind of question you would be having. So definitely I will be giving you certain situation and then you have to make diagram onto it. So have a good day today and then see you tomorrow. Till then, take very good care of yourself and bye bye.